yes, hello, it is I, the conspicuous Moo. And today I thought I would talk to you a little bit about Mythic Plus, where monks currently are in each of the specs, where they're trending in general, and just a few ideas I want to throw around about how we can improve certain positions, shall we say. So, without further ado, let us get cracking. Now, all of the information you're going to see has been pulled off Radar.io, just had a look around, see what the representation was like, and so yeah, that's where I'm getting most of my data from for here. So if you look at the top 20 plus mythic runs in the whole of World of Warcraft right now, 3 windwalkers are there, which is pretty good, to be honest. You know, windwalkers are very, very much in demand, as we will see later. Because, you know, as a class that has probably the lowest representation as mains, anyway, in the game, I think, you know, it's very, very encouraging to see that at least the damage spec is pulling numbers so potent in Mythic Plus that it's actually represented rather well. In terms of brewmasters, there is one brewmaster in the top 40, and it is Andy Brew, who is a regular streamer. He's a regular Twitch streamer, and he plays a lot of Brewmaster, so he definitely knows what he's doing. So, you know, not great representation there, but, you know, you have to understand that these are 22s, 23s, really high keys. And unfortunately, the first Mistweaver comes in at 156. That's Monk Ting, so yikes. You know, that's it. That is a 22 as well. So, you know, even though, you know, monk representation isn't great in that particular area, you know, it's still possible. It still can be done. So, anyway, we'll start off with brewmaster representation. So, 13.6% over the 6 classes. Now, you know, this is Mythic 10. So, you know, at this level, it's fairly balanced. You know, warriors are still lagging fairly badly behind, but I think that's more of a perception thing than their actual ability. I think they are still pretty good tanks. I mean, one of our raid tanks is a prot warrior, no problems at all. But, you know, as you can see, Pallies and Demon Hunters are definitely ahead here. And, you know, these numbers are pretty consistent through, you know, Mythic Noughts up through to Mythic 15s. So when you hit the 15s, that's when Demon Hunters really start to take off, and Paladins are closely behind, and everyone else sort of drops off substantially, particularly Warriors, but also us. This is actually down on the representation that we saw a month or so ago. It's down about 4%. So, you know, perception or otherwise, Brewmasters just aren't as popular at the moment in Mythic Plus. So we go on to DPS representation, and this is 10 again. So, as you can see, you know, the usual suspects are out in front, so that's the Marksmanship Hunter, the Fire Mage, the Balance Druid, the favourite of botters. I've lost count of how many Balance Druids I've reported. But, you know, Unholy DKs, Shadow Priests, also very, very good. And, you know, we're down there at about 4.6%, so, you know, we're not an absolute must-take at this particular key level. You know, we're just one of everybody else, because it doesn't matter all that much at Mythic 10. However, the higher you go, the more pronounced the Marks, Hunters, Fire Mages and Balance Druids become, and everyone else starts falling away substantially. So, you know, once again, this is probably just ultimate meta chasing. People have been told what are the best specs and what they're supposed to take. But, you know, the Windwalker population itself does go up a little. I think it goes up to about 5.8% representation at Mythic 15 plus, so, you know, we're still being regarded as a spec that's worth taking in those higher keys. But we really take off at Mythic 20 and up, because now all of a sudden our representation is 9.2%, which is really quite large for considering the population sample size. That's quite a chunk. So, yeah, the higher we go, the more in demand Windwalkers appear to be at the moment, which is an excellent thing. We also have to have a moment's silence for some of the specs which just don't show up in the chart at all. Survival Hunters are not here. Assassination Rogues, nope. You know, Frost, 0.7%. Both the Shaman specs. I think that's Demonology at 0.8% as well. Feral Druids, 1%. You know, there's there's definitely some outliers here, and there are a lot of Havoc Demon Hunters as well who are very, very unhappy about the way things are going right now. Now, to address this, Blizzard have actually announced that they're going to be making some changes, and they're not particularly complicated ones, but they've definitely spotted the ones which seem to be having a problem at the moment, and they're just bumping up by percentages. Now, this is just their intention to buff. This won't take place until around Feb 3rd, and they're looking for feedback at the moment. The majority of the feedback is that this isn't enough, or it's not addressing, actual issues with the way the classes play. It's just, bumping up the damage. This is a very, very easy way of doing it. It's a very lazy way of doing it, I'd say, as well. But, class design is not something Blizzard's been renowned for in the last 2 expansions, so I'm not entirely surprised. We'll see how this one shakes out. Now, the final one. This is pretty grim reading. Healer representation in Mythic Plus. Now, as you might have noticed in the last couple of videos, I have elected to become a mistweaver because it's something that's required in the raid, and I'll take my windwalker spec with me as well if we have too many healers, or for some reason I'm not needed on Sun King or something. Yeah, I just think it's important that you have that flexibility, particularly when you can play all 3 roles. But yes, as you can see from this is once again Mythic 10s. Shamans, who are definitely out in front when it comes to Mythic Plus right now, and Druids as well, very good at this level. Paladins surprised me because, I wasn't expecting a lot of Holy Paladin representation. The word on the street has been for some time now that Holy Paladins are nothing like as good as they were in Battle for Azeroth, so it's nice to actually see them there. The Priesthood is fairly low. I mean, Discipline at this level, not particularly in that much demand, but it's nice to see Holy Priest there. But yeah, unfortunately Mistweavers are rock bottom, and we'll try and pick that apart a little later. But as with all of the other charts, this is fairly representative from 0 to 15 of how it kind of balances out. Unfortunately, Holy Priests and Mistweavers just fall off a cliff as soon as you get up to about 15. Representation becomes practically non-existent. It's about 2%, I think, for Mistweavers. And then after that, Paladins and Discipline Priests start to come through, and Druid is the one that just disappears. So, interesting pattern of changes there. But you do notice a certain theme with those particular 3 healers, which I will get to in a minute. So yeah, while we acknowledge that Shaman is the acknowledged king or queen of the Mythic Plus healing realm at the moment, Disc Priests at the moment are also coming through as really, really good, and you'll see them in some of the top Mythic Plus passes as well. So, as you can see, brewmasters are falling away a bit. Windwalkers are doing just fine, thank you very much. They're not outstanding, but they're not terrible either. And Mistweavers are really having difficulty finding groups. So, what can we do about each spec? Well, Brewmaster-wise, and I've touched on this before, but I will touch on it again, stagger needs to be higher. Stagger is still the thing that we are most identified by, and so when you start an expansion with 25-ish% less stagger than you had in BFA, then all of a sudden stagger is not as useful anymore because you're taking far more hits, you're not smoothing that damage out as well, and it's showing when you're tanking. I mean, say for example, at the moment, if I have Shuffle Up, my stagger is 65%, which is okay. And at the moment, magical damage is staggered at 35% effectiveness, but that's 35% of your stagger value, not 35% of 100%. So in actuality, the magic stagger is about 22.75%. So every time I take a magic hit, there's a good 77.25% of it that's going straight into my face. So that's making us a lot spikier. And yes, we have Celestial Brew, but the quickest you can get Celestial Brew back is 30 seconds. And you pretty much, generally speaking, you might get it back a little faster if you're using Bone Dust Brew, but at the end of the day, it's great for those 8 seconds it's up, but there's a whole big gap where you're really not mitigating magic damage very well. Now, back in the day, we used to have an ability called Mystic Vitality. and they had to add it as a talent because brewmasters were having a problem with magic damage. Who knew? So they put this in, and it basically became you had to take this, and if you wanted to tank anything involving damage, because it would substantially increase the amount that you could stagger. I don't think we need Mystic Vitality back, we just need stronger physical and magic mitigation up front. We need stronger stagger there, because we're no longer renowned for smoothing anything out, and we are kiting at much, much lower level mythic keys than we used to. So, you know, we just cannot stand and take it anymore, which doesn't sound particularly tanky. And I know we're not the only tank who has this problem, but that would be my suggestion. Let's take the core ability of brewmasters and make it better. Now I realise that that's probably going to make Celestial Brew too strong. We're going to be able to mitigate far too well, so what I would propose is what I had proposed before: uncouple Purifying Brew and Celestial Brew, and let's just have Celestial Brew as guard, 30-second cooldown, cannot be reduced, scales off your secondary stats, but probably mostly versatility, let's be honest here, yes, reduce the power of Celestial Brew as well. So now you can intelligently purify when you're supposed to, and you can also use guard when you're supposed to, which is for, you know, some of the larger hits and some of the magical hits, which, yeah, you could stagger, but it's probably better off if you just absorb the whole thing. So it rewards you for good play, instead of just mindlessly spamming Purifying Brew and creating stacks, and then hitting Celestial Brew on cooldown, which is not exciting or interesting in any way. Windwalkers, the only thing I run into with Windwalkers is survivability. I am astonishingly good at dying. Now, this may just be a player problem, it probably is, let's be honest, but you know, access to healing elixirs might be an idea. You know, there are a few options available for reducing damage, but I think it's less about reducing and more about just getting it back. Hard casting Vivify is a bit of a pain, let's be honest, particularly in Mythic Plus, because, you know, you are losing substantial damage while you're doing that. I would suggest maybe a talent where you can instant cast Vivify after you spend a certain amount of chi. I think 5 would probably be too low. I think between 50 and 20 chi spent, you know, you could reduce the cast time by 5% per chi spent or something. Something like that gives us just a little bit extra healing potential there, because I do feel that, you know, if you don't have Karma up, you are in trouble sometimes. For mistweavers, it is a much larger problem. A lot of this is going to be just like meta and perception. A lot of people's opinions about mistweavers are being formed by PvP, because they're not performing particularly well there either at the moment. But, you know, the commonality between the healers which are taken most on the highest, most complicated keys is their ability to reduce the damage taken on people. You know, all Mistweaver really has is, when it comes to just like damage reduction or shields or anything like that, is Cocoon. And Cocoon is fun in a pinch. You know, it's great for just keeping someone alive, so you can chuck a couple of hots on them and bring them back up again when they're on the brink of death. But as a major cooldown to prevent a lot of incoming damage, it's not really that good. You know, we're great at healing through it, but, you know, healing through it is no good if they're already dead. So this is a bit of a problem. I would suggest that, you know, we need something more in the damage reduction line to be made more attractive to high-level key players. And I think, you know, a bit of unique utility as well, separated from the other two specs, is probably nice. In terms of damage reduction, I think the easiest thing to do is to take Zen Meditation, which is pretty niche right now, give it to all 3 specs, and change it so that while you're channeling it, everyone's taking 10% less damage for, say, 8 seconds. And don't have it on a 5-minute cooldown, because that's ridiculous. Put it on 3 minutes. Now you've got another reason to bring Mistweavers. That's all I'm going to say about it. I personally, because I'm going through my, you know, learning my mistweaving trade now, I actually have quite high hopes for my fistweaving adventures. There's been a post recently on Peak of Serenity that goes into the details on the fistweaving build. Because, you know, I started out I don't want to do anything too complicated. You know, I'll take upwelling and I'll just stand back and pump the heals out, and you know, that's been fine. But you know, fistweaving at the moment is generally regarded as the better option, not only because, you know, it actually does more healing, but because you're also contributing damage, and about 1k damage, you know, per second. But you know, that really does add up, and you know, if you've got a boss down and you wipe at 0.2%, and you know, your 0.2% could have gotten you over the line, it's probably best you start fistweaving. So Sweggles the monk, I will put the links in the description, have overviews for both the raiding and the fistweaving. Basically the idea is to get right in there and Rising Sun kick as much as possible, keep your renewing mists out. You may have to grab some haste, which is extraordinary because you know my feelings on haste. I never liked it. But yeah, they say, you know, between 10 and 20% haste. I think the soft haste threshold for renewing mist is between 18 and 21%. So, you know, an additional tick. So, you know, you might want to go for that, but you know, as long as you have around 10% haste, you should be fine. And then he says about 70% mastery, and then to balance out the crit and versatility. So pretty much everything's useful. In terms of legendaries, Ancient Teachings of the Monastery, what was the one that they pointed me in the direction of, and after running Spires of Ascension far too many times for it to be healthy, I finally managed to pick it up. It might take a while to drop for you, haven't got it already. It drops off Devos at the end, and it's recommended to put it on the hands. Now I chose haste and versatility, but it's really a choice between haste, crit and versatility. Don't put mastery on it, but you know, any of the others is fine. And I've started to regen slightly for crit, so that's, you know, that's just the advice that has been given on these articles. And so, you know, I'm looking forward to my first proper fistweaving adventure in Nathria tomorrow night on Sunday, so I'll let you know how I travel on that one. Now, before I toddle off, I just wanted to share an add-on with you. I don't think this is actually available through the usual WoW Up channel, so I will put a link in the description for this particular add-on. And it's called Venture Plan. Now, it's basically helps you out with the table, the mission table. Never been a great fan of the mission table, so anything that speeds it up and makes it more reliable is definitely a good one for me. Now this will give you, you know, a better readout like this. You know, you've got the XP amounts, you've got the rewards, you've got your campaign level, you've got the amount of anima you've got, and it'll put it out in tablet form like this, which is rather nice. So you can sort of have a look and see which ones you'd really like to be going for. In addition, it also does have the ability, when you drag your characters onto the screen, there's a little book on the left, you click the book and it will give you a prediction of the outcome. This will save you from going into those more difficult ones, in particular the elite quests that, you know, last a day, and you put everything in, you're not really sure what the outcome is. This thing kind of sims it and says, yeah, you're going to lose, I wouldn't bother. So, you know, you're not going to be losing days and possibly weeks chucking all your people into a mission that you repeatedly fail. So I just thought I'd put that out there because it's a fabulous little add-on. It's probably my favourite of Shadowlands so far. Like I said, I'll put the link in, and yeah, go for it. It's definitely worth it, just to make that mission table a little less painful. So yes, that is Mythic Plus right now for monks. You know, please leave your thoughts and comments down below. For me, I think both Brewmaster and Mistweaver are getting a bit of a raw deal here. I think they're a very capable tank, and it's a very capable healer. I think it is a vastly underrated healer, Mistweavers. So I will be happy to do my best to champion its cause. I'm certainly having a lot of fun at the moment. I mean, I still use Brewmaster for a lot of stuff, like, you know, if I'm going to Torghast or the Moor, it's just easier to go as a Brewmaster. It just trivializes everything. But yeah, I mean, that's it so far. I'm getting more into Mythic Plus now because I really have Mythic Plus and raids, and that's it. There's nothing else in Shadowlands that's being offered, presumably until patch 9.1 comes, so we look forward to that. And I've been filling in the rest of my MMO time with Elder Scrolls, but I'm sure you don't want to hear about that. Anyway, I will be back soon with more monk chat. But until then, I am the Conspicuous Moo, and a very good morning to you.